Hi, good morning, everyone. As Allison said, my name is Randy Zucker, and I'm the Director of Arts, Community, and Culture here at this JCC. And I went on an incredible trip to Israel in December, and I'm pleased to be here to tell you about it. So, you'll see here, this was called Israel Experience and a mifgash that matters. And it's a funny word. I just learned what it is. It's a mifgash is a group educational experience.
Randy, we can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. Hopefully this does it. Okay, so in Hebrew, it's a Hebrew word, mifgash, and it's very specific. It's a group educational experience, which is what my program was. And this program was organized and sponsored by an organization called the I Center and the JCC Association. The I Center is a nonprofit whose mission is to support and facilitate Israel education throughout North America. And the JCC Association is an overarching agency which supports JCC work around the globe. This trip was a 4-day educational journey for JCC professionals from all around North America. There were about 40 of us who were brought to Israel to bear witness and hear the stories of many Israelis, to listen to what life has been like for them since October 7th, 2023. It was very intense and very uplifting at the same time. So the remote decided not to work. Always a technical difficulty. Yes, I can see. And but I cannot turn the slide or escape from it. Let's see. Sorry. Ta-da! Okay. So, as I just mentioned, this group was put together by this agency called the I Center. And when we arrived to our program on late Monday in the afternoon on December 16th, we received this wonderful welcome tote with a note in it from the CEO of the I Center. And I wanted to read you the note because it is not on the screen. Okay.
Can you do it manually? In other words, don't use the remote. Just go onto your laptop or whatever and put it up manually.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this was the beautiful note, we welcome note that we received, and I want to share it with you because it frames sort of the purpose and the tone for the program. It reads, "We are looking forward to spending time together here in Israel, deepening our connections with one another and with Israelis. In this pivotal moment, your presence in Israel carries profound significance. We believe that our shared experiences will enrich our understanding of each other and of the complex reality we are living in Israel and also in North America. Thank you for your dedication to this journey and for embracing the complexities and nuances that make this experience so meaningful. Your commitment inspires hope and fosters connection at a time when it is so greatly needed. Signed, Ann Lansky, the CEO of the Eye Center. So this image that was on the front of our welcome note is called Stitching Wounds, and it's a thought-provoking piece that was illustrated by an artist that we met on our first night in Israel. Her name was Ira Ginsberg, and this piece captures the October 7th war through a visual metaphor. The artwork depicts a woman stitching a blanket featuring the Star of David and Western Negev settlements. Her act of stitching symbolizes the effort to mend the deep-seated wounds of conflict and division and suggests a desire for healing and reconciliation.
I can't hear a thing. I can't hear anything.
I have the iPad up here.
The sound is coming through. It must be at your end. I'm hearing everything. So it must be at your end. I heard every word.
No, I can't hear either.
It must be at your end. In other words,
It's not on my end. I can hear other programs.
Well, I'm hearing every.
I can't
Allison,
hear
can
a
you mute
word.
everyone? Okay. Okay. Yeah, super interesting. There was a lot of artwork and the art's woven through our program. So I wanted to make sure to include that here for you today. This is another illustration by Ira. It's called Birds of Hope, and it features children of various colors and nationalities who are lying in the grass, creating angels with their arms and legs. And the angel shapes are surrounded by the outline of a dove, which is a universal symbol for peace. And this was, an ongoing sentiment with everyone that we spoke to on our trip. So on our first morning of the first day, we started right off going to the Nova Music Festival site. Just wanted to show you what that looks like. It's a big open field, which is now covered with memorials for each and every person who was murdered or taken hostage from the Nova site. It's in Re'im. It's in the south. Yeah, the family comes and decorates and enhances every memorial for each person. And as part of the memorial site,
Yeah, I can't hear a thing. Why am I aggravating myself?
so as part of this memorial site, it's decorated and filled with red poppy flowers or anemones, which is a national flower in Israel, and it's often associated with remembrance and memorialization. And in Israel, where it's often put in memory of fallen soldiers and victims of conflict. It's a significant art image. This is the art installation called Anemones Before the Rain. The sign reads, "Created with love in the midst of war by thousands of volunteers in memory of the victims of the Black Saturday and those who fell in battle." And they're all handmade with ceramics. Those are yahrzeit candles, yes. So the Nova Festival was a music festival. It was an overnight party. Over 4,000 people were in attendance through the night, and the main performance was to go on at sunrise on October 7th. But instead, as you know what happened, a massacre ensued. And while I will not go into the specifics of the horrific events, please know that 364 people were killed there, including 17 police officers. 40 victims were taken hostage. And of those, 4 have been rescued, 5 released, and 13 bodies were recovered. The victims were not numbers, though. They were people with families, friends, and vibrant lives. And so when we were arriving at the Nova Festival, every single person in my group was assigned a single person with a bio and a photo to identify with and learn about. And the person who I was assigned to was this young girl, Imbar Heyman, who was 27 years old at the time on October 7th, and she grew up in Haifa. She was a talented and inspiring artist, known for her graffiti art under her graffiti name Pink. Her signature use of the color pink symbolized joy, optimism, and vibrancy of life, a reflection of her own personality. Inbar's art adorns walls across Israel and gained international recognition, which helps to share her story, her personal struggles, and messages of hope. And we did actually see some of her artwork while we were traveling through Tel Aviv. On October 7th, 2023, Inbar attended the Nova Music Festival, volunteering in a support area for festival goers. She was kidnapped by terrorists and taken to Gaza, leaving her family in agonizing uncertainty for weeks. And on December 16th, 2023, her family was informed that she had been killed in captivity. And her tragic loss left an unfillable void in the hearts of her loved ones. Yet her memory lives on through community projects and artistic initiatives that celebrate her life and the light she brought to the world. And you'll see later on in my slides the several other times that I was able to see projects and support in her honor. So from leaving the Nova Festival, we traveled about 20 minutes to Moshav Tekuma. And a Moshav is a village. It's similar to a kibbutz, but what's different about it is that in a kibbutz community, there's no personal property. Everything is shared and communal. And at a Moshav, you can own your own home. The jobs and crops and foods and services are shared amongst the community members. And this woman right here is Diganit. And we met her at her home in this beautiful mashav, which you can see is filled with trees and orchards. And her backyard is filled with a lemon orchard. And she is the Bible teacher for the community. And also she is the youth counsel, an agricultural youth counselor, meaning she meets with young adults from her community and nearby and sort of rehabilitates them by working the land and learning about farming and giving back to the community. She really embodies the term that you may be familiar with called Eretz Yisrael, which literally means land of Israel. And this phrase, land of Israel, is ingrained in the people. And they just take so much pride in their land, and they cherish and work the land, so the land provides for them. So next we traveled to a town called Sderot. And we went to a community center, which is much like our JCC. Sderot is very close to Gaza. In fact, you can see Gaza while standing outside of the community center. So the time from an air raid siren to impact is less than 15 seconds that the citizens there have to shelter. So the town was evacuated immediately after October 7th attack. And several of the members of the community came to speak with us in small groups about their experiences during the previous then 14 months of war. And my group spoke with a woman named Mayan, who is a math teacher in Sderot. On October 7th, early in the morning, she tells us, when the sirens went off, she and two of her three daughters and her husband and her father-in-law rushed to their safe room. Her mother-in-law was nearby at her own home with Mayan's third daughter and Mayan's niece. It's interesting to note that the safe rooms have no locks on them. They are strictly bomb shelters and meant to keep everyone safe from incoming bombs or shrapnel. That's the remnants of the Iron Dome intercepts. Never did they think there would be a manned invasion. So Mayan had a crazy, unusual experience on October 7th while they were in their safe room. Her father-in-law passed away. And they, in the Jewish tradition, bury their dead as soon as possible. And so the next day, when it was as safe as it could be, they hurried outside and buried her father-in-law. And they sat Shiva in their safe room for 7 days. Their entire community had been evacuated to hotels throughout safer parts of Israel, but her family stayed in their safe room for the full 7 days of Shiva. And when Shiva was over, her family relocated to a hotel in Jaffa near Tel Aviv. And she was living in a place where everyone, arrived with just what they were wearing on their back, no like suitcases, no supplies. And so she's like a real go-getter, and she organized right away an Excel spreadsheet and created a laundry system for the community. And she got volunteers, and they collected everyone's laundry on a daily basis, and they did laundry and then returned the packages back to all the residents. After that, she's like, okay, what are we going to do with all these children? Like hotels full of children who have nothing to do every day. She started organizing artists and performers to come from around the country. There were lots of Israeli musicians and artists and storytellers who traveled from hotel to hotel to try and entertain the children. After that, that was not enough. She's like, we need to do something for school for them. I mean, this as months and months went on, she created more programs. They had the children do a morning school program, and then this afternoon was entertainment by the performers. She organized the adults to make care packages for wounded soldiers, and they went to deliver them to local hospitals to give to the soldiers as, a small treat. And this is just example of one community taking care of each other in such an incredible way when they could have, they weren't living at home. They didn't have any rare things. They didn't have their friends and family. Their community was divided up all over the country. And they just had the wherewithal to take care of each other. And it was like indescribable what that spirit is like to me. And these were the kinds of stories we were hearing every day. And I just want you to know that this that I'm telling you is still on day one of this program. So the final person that we met and spoke with on this very intense day was Yusef Marhat, who is a Bedouin bus driver. a minibus driver, and he saved many lives during the Nova Festival tragedy. He, for his career was a driver, and he worked with several families in his community, and he drove this group of boys to school every day for their whole lives, and then they hired him to drive wherever they needed to go. So on this specific day, he was hired to drive a group of 9 boys to the Nova Festival on October 6th. And he dropped them off, and he was to pick them up the next day on the 7th at 1:30 in the afternoon when the festival was over. And he went home and he went to bed. And Saturday was his day off. He didn't have any place to be until he was picking up these boys at 1:30. So at 6:30 in the morning, his phone started buzzing and buzzing and buzzing, and he ignored it because he was sleeping and it was his day off. And it wouldn't stop. And finally, his wife woke him and was like, "You've got to check your phone. Something's going on." And he saw all the messages from the boys that he had dropped off saying that, "Please, you need to come save us." And so he immediately got in his minibus and drove to the Nova site in search of the boys, Amit and 8 other boys. And I want you to hear a little bit in his own voice. He doesn't speak English, but it's translated. And then this is what happened when he arrived at the Nova site.
And I saw my people. I brought 10, but there were only 8 there. So I said to Amit, "Where are Gal and
Did you hear?
Dana?" And Amit said, "Gal and Dana took a ride with someone else."
It's not coming through on the sound system. I don't know why.
דחפתי שם 30, אני עד היום עובד בעוטף, בקיבוץ רעים, ומזל שאני מכיר את האזור טוב, ישר החלטתי לנסוע שמאלה דרך השדות.
Amit said to me, "Okay, all 8 of us are here, let's go." And I said, "What are you talking about, let's go? My van has 14 seats." So they got in, we filled a total of 30 people, and we drove, and luckily...
You can't hear that, can you? Okay.
Yes, we did.
Then I'll tell you
hear.
in my
We
voice.
did hear very well.
So he, by some miracle, grace of God, he doesn't know how, found the boys at the Nova site in the midst of the chaos. And he put them in his van, and the boy who was his contact, his name was Amit. Amit said, "Okay, let's go." And Yusuf said, "What do you mean? There's 14 seats in my van. We're not leaving till it's full." And he had started driving through the field towards the exit with the van door open, driving slowly. And as they saw people, he slowed down, and the boys pulled more people into the van. And the last 2 people he pulled in were injured. There was a girl and a boy, and the girl was shot and the boy was injured. And he got out of the van to help bring the injured 2 into the van. The van had 30 people in it, and in a 14-passenger van. And they closed the door and they drove out. And Yusuf worked in a kibbutz very nearby, so he was very familiar with the back roads and the side roads, and many roads were closed and blocked by police. And he was trying to get to a hospital to bring the 2 injured youth, and he got to the road to go to the hospital, and the police stopped him and said, "You can't go because the terrorists are already in the next town." So he turned around and he went to a nearby kibbutz. He went directly to the infirmary to drop off the 2 injured youth to be taken care of. And then he, along with 400 other people who came into the kibbutz for safety, were then taken care of by the people from that kibbutz. They were given coffee and food and blankets and cell phones and chargers. And he saved all these people's lives. Like, just out of the goodness of his heart, he expressed how he's Bedouin. He lives in a community with Jews and Arabs and Druze, and they're all human beings, and they all get along and they take care of each other. So this was like not even a thought for him to act in this way. And this is just one of the many heroes that we met. And again, this is still day one of the program. So on day two, we went to Hostage Square, which is a spontaneous memorial site in Tel Aviv, in front of the Tel Aviv Art Museum. It has had many installations over time. This is the entrance to it. You'll see everywhere in Israel, we saw graffiti and posters and yellow ribbons and bring them home now. And everyone's wearing dog tags, bring them home now. The citizens want their loved ones home. They want the hostages back. This picture over here is sort of like, looks like a sukkah. And it's a very long table with chairs that the families of the hostages each brought their own chair for their missing loved one. And they, and they decorate it for each holiday that comes. This is the second place where I saw, this is Inbar Heyman, who I said was my person that I learned about at Nova Festival. And this is her chair, and it's pink as her name. And every chair is different. They mark time in Hostage Square. They have programs. We saw lots of children's school groups coming through, touring and having programs and lessons. This is one of the timekeepers. I want to show you this. This is, we were there on day 438 of the hostages being in captivity. The whole place is covered by artwork, as you can see here, and that's a big theme of this program. And the reason is sometimes words aren't enough. And people are, there's incredible examples of Israeli artists and illustrators expressing all of their very big feelings through art, and it is everywhere in Israel. Now, so it's informal, it's on big posters. Yeah. So did I. So there's an artist collective on Instagram where their illustrators are submitting artwork, like very interesting, very provocative artwork, like both of these. I didn't know I could miss people I don't know. And we will dance again. This is demonstrating Israel being someone's heart that's missing or maybe bleeding. This picture, this illustration over here is many, many hands with yellow ribbons tied on them in memory and in honor of the hostages with Israeli flags, and all of the hands together form the shape of a heart. This character is one of the original characters of the early days of Israel, and he's crying. This obviously peace and justice is a missile with flowers coming out of it. These are two more by the artist I talked about, Ira Ginsberg, of doves, black and white doves forming a woman's hair. And then two that are crying, blue and red, together in many different languages, because everyone's crying. And this is called The Illustration of Our Past for a Vision of Our Future. And this image is set in the shuk, which is a market in Israel, at the end of the day, where the unsold fruit lies near the garbage. And three of Israelis' founding leaders are searching among the scattered leftovers of Jaffa oranges. The Jaffa oranges are a symbol of the vision of not only flourishing and prosperous land of Israel, but also the Jew who works the land. And the three former prime ministers in this illustration, David Ben-Gurion, who's at the bottom, and Golda Meir, and Menachem Begin, were the leaders who shaped the vision and blueprint for how this country was supposed to look today. So another example, how these three leaders, now much older, are forced to sort out the country's values and clear away the rotten, leaving just those that are still relevant and that can carry Israel through the next 25 years or, God willing, forever. So to continue on the theme of working the land, this is Adar Sharif, who's from the north. It lives in a kibbutz, Gesher Haziv, which is 4.9 kilometers from Lebanon. And he is in charge of the banana farm on the kibbutz, and his farm is under constant attack from Hezbollah. But he did not leave his land. His wife and children went to his in-laws to safety, and he stays home and continues to farm. And he struggles to protect his land and his workers. He has 14 Thai workers from Thailand that live on the kibbutz with him and work. It was so interesting. They're in a 3-year program, these Thai workers, where they come to Israel for 3 years and they work and they make money, more money that they could make at home. And they then go home after 3 years with enough money to buy homes, start a family, and start a new business. So let's see, I'll show you this.
First Lebanon war, I was in a shelter. I was, I don't know, 10 years old, something like it. I lived in a bomb shelter.
He was very great, like a very laid back, very matter of fact. He's lived in this way in this same area his whole life. So he's spent time as youth in and out of bomb shelters, and he was very comfortable in staying and protecting his land. Another theme that was a welcome program was about music. We were lucky enough to meet a musician called, his name is Shai Sabari, and who spoke to us about music being healing, being hope, bringing people together. It healed our heart and our soul. And we learned all about Shai's experience in the past over 14 months. He had been called upon to sing at so many shivas. He is Yemeni and he follows in his grandma's singing footsteps. Music is a language for him that transcends political and racial divides and brings people together. Let me show you.
We're so divided sometimes, but you know, when you clap your hands, everything is fixed.
So what he said while he was starting to sing is, we are so divided sometimes, but when we all clap our hands together, it can be fixed. For him, songs are prayer, and this form of prayer rebels against what is in reality happening. This was a very moving and emotional experience for us. This day, this afternoon, of these programs that I'm talking about now actually were
That's so divided.
in Jerusalem. Let's see, here's another one. Actually, I think I figured out why the sound's not working while I'm talking. Let's see. Oh no, it does say share sound. Still not working. You could hear that through the system?
The sound is
Oh.
working perfectly. I don't know where it's not working. For the Zoom people,
Okay, so we're still now meeting with people from the north who are close to Lebanon and have been evacuated now for over 15 months from their homes. We met with community members from Kiryat Shmona who shared stories of their experience in being evacuated from their homes for this length of time. And then we also shared an experience of creating these gift boxes to give to the wives of reservists. We later in the program met with this lobbying agency who's a forum for reservist wives, and we made care packages for them filled with tea and mugs and makeup and lotions and bath bombs. And it was a very moving experience. Our final day in Israel was spent in Ramat Gan, which is a suburb by Tel Aviv, at this place called Kafar HaMaccabiyah. And it's a conference, a giant conference complex that's focused on Israeli sports. The annual Maccabi games are held there, but it's got hotels and cafeterias and a museum. And we were able to visit this special exhibit called Unbroken, and I can't think of a more apt name for this exhibit. The introduction reads, the October 7th attacks and the ensuing war have taken a severe toll, even within the sporting community. Sports, which often symbolize the enduring human spirit, have been deeply affected by the tragedy and turmoil of conflict. This exhibit addressed three areas: the first day of the attack, the return to sports, and the response of Israel and the world. So this, you see this gold medal and this exhibit over here is Artem Dolgopiat, who's an Olympic and world champion gymnast who's Israeli. He was in Belgium on October 7th for the World Championships, and he heard about the attacks and what happened in Israel before he went on to perform, and he had to deliberate and decide, should I perform or should I not perform? Like, which is the right thing to do? And in the end, he performed and he won. And he won the gold medal. And at the medal ceremony, he wrapped himself in the Israeli flag while they played Hatikva, and he couldn't speak. It was an incredibly moving and emotional experience, and this is the medal that he won. This is another tribute to Inbar Heyman, who is the hostage that we learned about from the Nova Festival. I mentioned she was from Haifa, and she was a diehard Maccabi Haifa soccer fan. And so the soccer team paid tribute to her and made a pink jersey with her name on it, and the goalie wore it for a game in her honor. This pair of Nikes right here belongs to an NBA basketball player who's from Israel, Denny Avdija, and he wore these shoes on a historic day when he scored 43 points for his team, which is the Washington Wizards. And he wrote in marker on the shoes, it's too small to see, but he wrote in marker on the shoes, "Stand with Israel." And those are the shoes he played in that day. And after one game last season that he played in Atlanta, Danny draped himself in an Israeli flag and stood before 200 Jewish fans who remained in the arena after the game, and they sang Hatikva together. During this war, Israel has been unable to hold games at home. So the Israeli national teams played a number of matches in other countries like Hungary. And before their international matches, the team, did I have it in here? Nope. The team released videos. The soccer players are matched with youth soccer players traditionally when they come out for international games, and they come out hand in hand. And the Israeli team came out holding no hands. You can see in this picture, they have their hands outstretched, but they're symbolizing their missing children. Oh, I have the video. This is the opposing team getting matched up with their children, walking out to the stadium. And these are the Israeli hands that are empty. Bring them home now, was the tagline. So this is not the end. This is still happening. This is still going on. I think it's day 459 today of the hostages in captivity. And this is not the entirety even of the program that I experienced. There are many more that I did not include, but here's a listing. We met one of the leaders of the Forum of Reservist Wives who are together fighting for policy change to improve the lives of the soldiers and their families, like to increase the amount of days between when they finish reserve duty and then when they have to start work. We met with Rayut, who's the sister of Aviel Rahamani, and heard his story of being attacked and murdered at the Nova Festival on October 7th. We met with 3 young Arab Israeli citizens from the Interagency Task Force who shared insights and challenges and aspirations of young Israeli Arabs. They created a shared spaces project at Tel Aviv University. They are creating policies on that campus to combat microaggressions and harassment. They're educating and encouraging coexistence through art. They're giving museum tours focused on exhibits that address belonging and identity. And they express that they're hopeful that things are still happening in the right direction for their community. We were joined in our very own cohort of professionals by Mayan Snapir, whose grandparents, Yocheved and Oded Lipschitz, were kidnapped by Hamas terrorists from their bedroom on October 7th. Yocheved, her grandmother, was later released She was very weak and ill, but her grandfather, Oded, remains in captivity. And finally, we met with an Israeli author, Edgar Keret, who spoke several years ago right here in this room to us. He talked to us about the vital role of storytelling and imagination in navigating the complexity of today's world, both in Israel and beyond. And while I'm not a professional storyteller, I hope that these stories leave you with the same sense of inspiration that I felt hearing them. Singer Shai Sabari said these words, and they ring true for me. Israelis are a people constantly in limbo between despair and hope. And it is my hope that I have fulfilled my duty to bring you this collection of little lights, these little stories, because we need lights, because only light will conquer darkness. So if you have any questions about any of the stories that I was able to share, or any of those that I just briefly listed that I didn't yet have time to include the details, please ask. And I thank you so much for your time and for listening today.
Thank you so much, Brandy. That was so interesting and emotional. And I have a mic here if anybody has a question. If you want to let me know, I can bring you the mic. Or is there anybody online with a question? You can unmute and
Yes,
ask.
I have a question. My name is Gita.
Okay, I have
First,
somebody
I
in
want
mind.
to tell you this was absolutely outstanding program. I'm very much in
Yes.
contact with Israelis. I have family there. And this program was just absolutely terrific. And in my opinion,
Oh, good information.
And-
I-24 and JBS.
and
Get that.
oh, okay. What I was going to say, I think this is also a great program to present for donations, because some of these things I certainly did not know. But my question for you is also, did you actually go up to Kibbutz Kiryat Shmone? Or
Peter?
you just saw the people from that? Because Kiryat Shmone is almost in Lebanon. So that's my question.
When I get home after temple at Emmanuel Westfield, I sometimes tune on and they have Friday night services at 11:30 at night and also late in the morning, and at Central Synagogue.
Yeah.
Chairman of Rabbi Israel Buckwell, the senior rabbi there, and some of the sermons are unbelievable. Sally and I were supposed to go to Israel on the 14th of October with the JCC on North and West, North Metro West. Of course, we got the emails of what happened before. So we hopefully
It was an interesting experience to be in Israel when there were really no tourists there. The citizens that we encountered at restaurants and stores were completely thrilled to see Americans and to see tourists there. Every store that I walked into, I was addressed in Hebrew, and I looked and I said, do you speak English? And they were surprised. They're like, what are you doing here? What program are you on? So they're very appreciative of visitors, for sure.
What would you say to people, from the group who wanted to go to Israel? Is now a good time, or should they wait?
I can't really advise on that. I felt safe while I was there. But we did have two sirens while I was there, two attacks from Yemen, both on the first day and the last day, and that was unnerving and scary.
Thank you. That was a great talk, and I felt the emotion you were feeling as you were giving it. I understand the intensity that you said, the hope. I understand that the people are coming together, and that's hopeful, but do we know if the people are even alive still?
We don't. We hope. we hope that they're alive and that they'll be home soon. And that's all we can do. And that's how they get through each day.
Israeli people are an amazing people. They know how to laugh and love and have a good time and enjoy each other, and they know how to fight. And they're absolutely amazing. And when we were there, we witnessed the same that you did. Very few tourists are there now, and it's probably not a time for groups of tourists to go, but it will happen soon. And when we were there, we went to several kibbutzes right on the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
Did you get to go?
We didn't go to those kibbutzes, but the group that was with us did
They
go
told
to.
us their stories. Everybody has a story.
Yes.
And one story is more emotional.
Yes.
But it looks like you had a wonderful time. Randy.
It was an amazing experience. It was life-changing. It was not a tourist trip. We didn't see any sights. Like meeting these people and hearing their stories is what we did every day. And it was,
And through Peoplehood, which is a group through the Federation.
yes.
I have been friends with 3 people. I started with 5 and then it went down to 3. And we write each week to each other on WhatsApp. And when we were in Israel, I got to meet all 3 of them.
Oh, that's so nice.
So that was very emotional. One man protected his kibbutz and he saved the people's lives. David Kurzfeld is his name.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the women are teachers, and they took time off from school to come and visit with us and to meet us.
That's amazing.
It was very unusual because we were writing, and they're writing in English. They're both good English speakers, was terrific. And then here I met them, and they have thick accents.
Uh-huh.
It was a shocker. It was wonderful.
It's true. That was another layer of the program. We were this giant group of JCC professionals from all around North America, and joining us were 5 Israelis that joined us for each of these conversations, who work in community center work in Israel. And it really enriched the experience a lot to get to know and be every day being able to talk to Israelis and getting their perspective. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randy. It was really so interesting and moving and worthwhile. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, I don't have that on this. It's on there. Okay. I don't think so. Maybe.
I don't know.
It had something to do with the share. Yeah.